Mr. O'Connor.
What is your real name?
Malcolm X.
Is that your legal name?
As far as I'm concerned, it's my legal name.
Have you been to court to establish that you are?
I didn't have to go to court to be called Murphy or Jones or Smith. Excuse me for answering you this way.
That's
if
all right.
a Chinese person were to say his name was Patrick Murphy, you would look at him like he's insane, because Murphy is an Irish name, a European name, or the name that has a Caucasian or white background. And a yellow person, Chinese is a yellow man, and he has nothing to do or no connection whatsoever with the name Murphy. And if it doesn't look proper for a person who is yellow or Chinese to be walking around named Murphy or Jones or Johnson or Bunch or Powell, I think it would be just as improper for a black person or the so-called Negro in this country, as we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to walk around with these names. And therefore he teaches us that during slavery, the same slave master who owned us put his last name on us to denote that we were his property. So that when you see a Negro today who's named Johnson, if you go back in his history, you'll find that he was once, his grandfather or one of his forefathers was owned by a white man who was named Johnson. If his name is Bunch, his grandfather was owned by a white man that was named Bunch.
Would you mind telling me what your father's last name was?
My father didn't know his last name. My father got his last name from his grandfather, and his grandfather got it from his grandfather, who got it from the slave master. The real names of our people were destroyed during slavery.
Was there any line, any point in the genealogy of your family when you did have to use the last name, and if so, what was it?
The last name of my forefathers was taken from them when they were brought to America and made slaves. And then the name of the slave master was given, which we refuse. We reject that name today.
You mean you won't even tell me what your father's supposed last name was or gifted last name was?
I never acknowledge it whatsoever.
Why do you insist on being called Muhammad Ali now?
That's my original name. That's a black man name. Cassius Clay was my slave name. I'm no longer a slave.
What does it mean?
Muhammad means worthy of all praises, and Ali means most high.
Why don't you like to be called Clay anymore?
No, Clay was not my name. Clay was a white man's name. It was a slave name. And I'm no longer Clay. I'm no longer a slave. So now I'm Muhammad Ali.
Do you answer to Clay anymore?
Well, some people, they still say Clay. Cassius.
Sports writers still call you Clay.
No, I stopped them because they know better. Then some walk up. How you doing, boy? How you feeling, Cassius? Meet Mr. Clay, fine boy. Then I have to straighten him out because he's agitating and acting smart and bossy. But it's according to how they approach me.
I'd like to say something right here. You know, Cassius Clay, yes.
Why do you want to say Cassius Clay when Howard Cosell and everybody is calling you Muhammad Ali? Then why you got to be the one of all people whose color to keep saying Cassius Clay?
Howard Cosell is not the one who's going to fight you. I am.
You're making it really hard on yourself now.
Well,
why don't you keep the thing in the sport angle? Why don't you call me my name, man?
Well, what's your name? You told me your name was Cassius Clay a few years ago.
I never told you my name was Cassius Clay. My name is Muhammad Ali, and you will announce it right there in the center of that ring after the fight if you don't do it now.
For the benefit of this broadcast, him. All right?
You just acting just like an old Uncle Tom. Another flawed policy. I'm going to punish you.
Let me tell you something, man. You ain't got no...
Back off of me.
Don't call me no Uncle Tom.
That's what you are, Uncle Tom.
Why are you going to call me Uncle Tom? I ain't do nothing.
You heard me. Just back off of me.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, as the two contestants prepare for battle right now...
Back off of me, man. Back off of me, man.
Another interview has been recorded for posterity.
undisputed champion of the world, Muhammad Ali.
Rashad said something about the magazine yesterday, and I thought it was so deep, man. He said for years you were called Marty because you needed to fit in. He said it seems like he's watched you grow into your name, Kamar Dean Usman, and wear it with pride. Do you feel like that was all part of the journey, man? Because that really did touch me deep, because even me, on the Olympic thing, I called you by that name. But then when you told me you wanted to be called by your grown name, I accepted that as a man. Do you feel like that's all been a part of the journey? Because a lot of people don't understand what he meant, but that is such a deep thought by Rashad Evans, a guy that's seen you go through everything. And you know, listen, we love wrestling, but it is about fitting in that box at times. Do you feel like you've grown into Kamar Dean Usman?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's a remarkable statement by Rashad, because that's very, very true. It's very, very accurate. You know, in the wrestling world, I just came in, and here I am doing something that I've never done or never seen before. And the coach is like, oh, I can't pronounce that. I'm not going to say your name. I'm going to call you this. And I'm like, all right, I just want to fit in. I want to be here. And the better that I got, the more and more I started to progress up that ladder. You know, the name started to reign a lot more, to where it spills over to college, and the name continues to reign to where now I'm excelling to the heights. And of course that name is going to reign, which is why Ben Askren brought that up. I mean, if you think about us, Ben Askren wrestled before I wrestled. And, you know, he had his accolades and was already gone. But he started hearing the name of this kid, this Marty from Nebraska. He started hearing that. That's a dude from Nebraska that's killing dudes, that's tearing dudes up on the wrestling mat. To where now, in the MMA world, it's time for me to be known by my actual name, because I'm not wrestling anymore. I'm not trying to fit into that world. I'm standing tall, and I'm standing alone as the undisputed champion of the world, and that is Kamaru Usman, the Nigerian Nightmare.
Now, Marty, we've seen so many champions sort of fall to the pressure of actually being the champion and not be able to maintain that. You seem to have done a really good job of maintaining your composure, keeping your same work ethic. What do you attribute that level of mentality to?
Well, you mean Kamaru, not Marty. Marty was the wrestler. Kamaru is the champion you
Kamaru's the man.
see before you.